Hi guys, it's Helly and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I am going to share my top 10 study tips. So if you are a student or if you're studying something right now, you may find my tips helpful. Today's video is sponsored by iSkySoft and it is going to be featuring PDF Element Pro, one of the #1 softwares that I've been using for editing, creating and annotating my PDFs because mostly I use PDFs for my studies. More on the sponsors later. Let's get started with today's video. The #1 tip that I will give any student is that if you are studying a particular subject, chances are you are covering a lot of topics. No one studies just one thing, right? There's so much that we have to study. So one thing that you always should keep in mind is you have to actively read whatever you're reading. Don't just brush your eyes over the text. Actively read and then summarize whatever you have read in your own words. This is something that helps me a lot, and for this I use PDF Element Pro. This is a software which is your go-to software if you want to work with PDFs mostly. While I would love to write things down, there's really not much time. So doing stuff on the laptop itself becomes very easy for me. Just open the PDF file that you have been studying, and as you can see on the screen, I'm actually annotating and summarizing something that I had been reading. The thing is, most of the articles that I read in the PDF format are written in a very complex language, and when I am revising, it is very difficult to go through them once again. So what I do is I just summarize them in my own words, and that becomes very helpful. There are many more things that you can do with PDF Element Pro. I also love making doc files into PDF files. So what happens is that when I'm reading a particular book, I also sometimes summarize that and I write them in a doc file and then I convert it into PDF, and sometimes I also get a printout of that. But not a lot of people might need the printout, but I think that summarizing is one of the key things that you should be keeping in mind when you are studying. Also make sure that you highlight things in the file itself if you can't summarize them in your own words. Sometimes lines are like that. So whatever your needs are, PDF Element Pro has got you covered. So if that sounds good, I have a 50% discount offer from iSkySoft right now. So you can get PDF Element Pro at 50% off. So that's really affordable. The link will be in the description and in the top comment as well. So go check it out. The next thing that I'm going to advise any student is to take courses online. There are plenty of websites online like FutureLearn, edX, etc., which provide you with free courses in all types of subjects. And the best part is that you really don't need to pay anything to access them. Yes, if you want a verified certificate, you have to pay for it, but most of the times a verified certificate is not that necessary, right? So you can expand your horizon, you can expand your knowledge for absolutely free. Next thing that really helps me study is doing some light exercise before I sit to study. Most of the times I actually study in the morning. So just before I have my breakfast and just a little after I wake up, I do a little bit of exercise, like 5 minutes most of the times and 10 minutes if I'm feeling very active, because I'm not active at all. So under that circumstance, I do a little bit of exercise. The thing is, I have read that a little bit of exercise actually boosts your memory, brain power and makes you a little stress free. So that really helps, especially if you're someone who really procrastinates. Exercising is going to help you get on track, because the moment I have done my 5-minute exercise, I feel like, oh my god, I have to accomplish a little bit more than this. And yeah, it really gives me a vibe that I follow. The next thing that you can do if you want to study effectively, you can use this technique called the Pomodoro technique. I'm pretty sure that if you are someone who watches study channels, you're acquainted with Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro basically means a task done for a short stretch of time. So what happens in this is that for short intervals of time you study and then you take breaks. So maybe 25 minutes of study and 3 to 5 minutes of break. Now a lot of people do it differently, and there are actually apps to help you do the Pomodoro technique. I have personally never used it, but Pomodoro technique really helps in breaking down what you are doing, and also it helps you in not feeling exhausted or bored of studying. So this is something that you can do, especially if you don't like studying much. But I personally love studying a lot, so Pomodoro technique is not something that I have ever needed, because I love to study literature. But when I was in school, I did use the Pomodoro technique to study subjects that I did not like. The next tip will be to not multitask. Whenever you are studying a particular subject, just go all in on that. I love studying something at a stretch for 1 hour. After 1 hour, I have seen that I personally get bored. And let me know in the comments below if that's you as well. So whatever your topics are to cover, make sure that you make schedule for yourself, and in every hour you focus on one thing. Don't be that person who thinks about the second subject while studying the first and the third subject while studying the second. If your focus is not at one place, you are not going to ever study effectively. Most of the times what happens is that we are so worried about not finishing our syllabus, we are sort of all over the place, and really that is not helpful at all. So make a schedule, don't multitask, and the next tip will be to study at least 5 subjects a day for 1 hour each. 5 hours is really not that much, and if you can divide that 5 hour in 2 hour in the morning and 3 hour in the night, or anything that suits you, it really helps more. I personally find it easier to study in 2 or 3 hours spans than at 5 hours a stretch. Yes, there have been days when I have studied like that, but most of the times it was for the exams. So yeah, I hope that this tip helps, because this tip is really life changing for me. The next tip that I'm going to acquaint you with is Robin Sharma's the 90 by 90 by 1 rule. So for 90 days, for 90 minutes, I want you to focus on one subject. It's a little bit different from the previous tip, but I don't know which tip is going to work out for you, so I wanted to acquaint you with the 90 by 90 by 1 rule. 90 minutes, 90 days, one subject, and probably by the end of 90 days you will have mastered the area of studies, because 90 minutes of focus in one particular field is really going to take you a long way in the life. The next thing that I want to talk about is take tests. And even if it's just MCQs, just take them, okay? As a child, I really underestimated MCQs, but MCQs actually test your brain more than a simple question. Most of the times, a simple question is something that you can answer easily with a Google search, but MCQs often have these confusing options, especially if you are doing them from the right site. For all subjects, there are plenty of sites that offer free MCQs, and just solve them. It really tests your brain power, it really tests what you have studied so far, and I think that really helps in, just remembering the things that you have studied. The most important part about studying is not the studying itself, but actually remembering what you have studied, retaining things. That is the difference between studying for fun and studying for education, right? Something that you don't remember is like a trivia, but there are a lot of things that you have to remember, especially if you're giving exams and especially if you want to study further in your life. The next tip that I'll give you is to study economically for your exams. Now, I know that most of you must do this if you are an above average student, and this basically means that study the things that are very important for the exams, especially if there are only 7 days to the exam. If you are someone who studies at the nth hour, yes, that's me, you have to study economically. So what I do is I take out previous year's question papers. It is not applicable all the time, but most of the times it is applicable. So take out the question papers of the previous years, and first of all, I want you to highlight the questions that are repetitive in every year. In my subject, we can easily find 3 to 4 questions being repeated after every 2 or 3 years. So highlight those questions, and these are the questions that you should study in the beginning. These are the questions which are the most important for your exam. And I'm sure that whatever field you're in, there are ways to analyze which questions might come the next year. So most of the times you can actually discern almost 50% of what can come in the exams by possibilities and probabilities and all that thing. I am not very acquainted with it, so but I guess that you get my point, right? And after that, you can study whatever miscellaneous things that you want to cover, but make sure that you have studied at least to pass your paper. Once again, economical study is the best study if you have not studied the whole year. The last tip that I'm going to give you is to write more. I have seen that as a child, I was more fond of reading, and what happened is that most of the times I would forget things, and worse than forgetting, I would remember what the answer to a question was, but I won't exactly remember what it was. I would remember the part, the page and everything that I had read, but I won't remember the exact words, and that is so painful. And that was partly because I had just read it. I had it in my memory as an image, not as a text. So it didn't work, okay? So what I have started doing is writing more. There are times of my day when I just sit down and revise whatever I've studied and write down the most important things about it in bullet points, not in proper text, but bullet points actually help me more. So whatever helps you more, you can decide that, but make sure you write more. Writing is actually more helpful in remembering, so yeah, I hope you do that. Thank you so much guys for watching today's video. I hope you guys like it, and if you liked it, give me a big fat thumbs up. Let me know about your top study tips in the comments below, because I am always open to learning more. And let me know what you are studying right now, because I would love to know which field you guys are in. As per as my information, most of you guys are actually in engineering or English literature, because that's what you guys tell me most of the times in the comments below. So especially if you're not from any of these fields, I'd love to know what you use to study. I will be back with another video next week. The link to iSkySoft PDF Element Pro is going to be in the description below and the top comment as well. So yeah, check it out. Bye bye.